Georgia Line, K98 Talk, High Plains Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, and the Internet's conservative radio network, ICRN. Check them out there. And if you miss any part of the rebroadcasts at the scheduled times, which are under our network listings at www.behindemylines.radio.us, you can download us and listen to us on demand anytime at iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, iHeartRadio. Shout out to all of our iHeartRadio listeners. And you can discover us on Google Play Music and Google Play Podcasts. Check us out there anytime you want. You know what, folks? Right now, I think I need to give some equal time to a lefty media type, although I wouldn't really call him a media type anyway, but someone else whose credibility is also shot. But, you know, we do it here for fun anyway. He's the Reverend Al. We love to hear what he says. Thanks to the Washington Free Beacon for these clips. Gene Barardelli, Behind Enemy Lines. I'll be back right after Reverend Al. The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwiddling, they do not want him dwiddling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney. Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus. When Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, I mean this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show. Gene Barardelli, back behind enemy lines. Few programming notes here on the show. Starting July 4th, Behind Enemy Lines Radio is proud to announce that we will be part of the charter lineup for Red Nation Rising Radio. Yes, the people that brought you the hashtag Red Nation Rising, that is used 1 billion times a month on Twitter. I'm not exaggerating. It's 1 billion with a B. That's how often people use the hashtag. Sometimes more. I mean, during the debates, you saw it all the time. I know I see it on Twitter all the time. And I know that a lot of you out there are part of that grassroots movement of Red Nation Rising. Well, Red Nation Rising is creating its own radio network that will be broadcast on both internet and terrestrial radio. check your listings. We'll be sure to tell you more about that in the weeks to come. But July 4th, folks, it's on rednationrising.us. Sign up on their website and be sure to follow up on Red Nation Rising Radio. It's going to be a powerhouse lineup, folks. It's going to be really awesome. Can't wait to join that great group of people that I've been working with in creating the grassroots, where we're going to find the next Levin, we're going to find the next Rush, we're going to find the next Savage at Red Nation Rising Radio. It's going to be great. Another programming note, I'm happy to announce that Behind Enemy Lines Radio is a finalist for a 2016 Podcast Award in the News and Politics category. And the best part about this award is that you, our listeners, put us up for it, and you, our listeners, put us over the top. Thank you so much for nominating us. Thank you so much. It's such a humbling thing to start a little show online a couple years back, and to then have it grow to the point of being the people's choice in the top 10 in news and politics. I mean, listen, we're way out of our league in this category. There are so many people out there that listen to news and political podcasts. And there are so many great shows out there on both sides of the aisle that do really great work. We're just humbled and happy to be one of them. But we want to win too, folks. So if you can go to www.podcastawards.com, go to the news and politics section, and vote for Behind Enemy Lines. Voting is open once a day from now until June 12th. Vote for Behind Enemy Lines Radio for news and politics, and also help out one of our friends, and I guess you want to call him teammate, because we're kind of working together on this. Our friend Andy Chavarria, who many of you know from multiple networks that we're on together and that we have been on. His show, The Intersection, is also up for a podcast award in the religion and spirituality section. So you can only vote once a day, so we're going to ask you to vote for both of us. There's the Brooklyn coming out at me. The both of us, each for our category. Behind Enemy Lines for news and politics, The Intersection for religion and spirituality, and do it every day till June 12th, and hopefully, by the end of June, you'll be listening to a winning podcast award radio show. Either me or Andy, or possibly both of us. Who knows? But listen, we wouldn't have gotten this far without you guys listening to us. I want to thank everybody so much for doing it, and hope you help us out even more down the road for that award. And wow, that's all I can say about that, folks. Time for some final thoughts here. You know what? I prepared a little something, but I think I'm going to wing it. And it really has to do with another controversy in media. We talked about Katie Couric, that Nimrod, that imbecile, that useful idiot. But I really got to talk to you about what happened with Glenn Beck and Sirius XM. And maybe I'll be biting the hand that feeds eventually one day. God willing, we'll end up on Sirius XM making the big bucks that Glenn's making. But this week, Sirius XM has suspended Glenn Beck's show that broadcasts at 9 a.m. Eastern on Sirius. I don't know why I'm plugging the competition, but whatever. Basically because he had a guest on author Brad Thor, who said that, according to Sirius, made some sort of veiled threat of assassination against Donald Trump. And I'm trying to find out exactly where it is. Maybe I have to listen to the clip a couple of times more like the Sirius XM people are doing. But Brad Thor is basically asking if a do-nothing Congress will not step in to stop the constitutional overreach by a President Trump, who will? And by saying that, and by Glenn not contradicting him, Sirius XM took them off the air because they thought it was a veiled threat against the Donald. I don't see it. I'm no Glenn Beck fan. I don't listen to his show. I can't afford Sirius. I'm just a lowly little podcaster. But I have to say, it sounds like just a constitutionalist talking about the Constitution. I have people in the chat room telling me that I have to listen to the whole segment to see exactly what it is, and I'm willing to keep an open mind on this. However, when stations start coming up with their own conclusion about what is being said on air, I don't know if the appropriate thing is to suspend someone and suspend the use of the airwaves for that person. Because it ends up being more of a kerfuffle than it is already. There I go. I tried to use a fancy word there, folks, and I got screwed for it. So it becomes more of an issue than it actually is. Again, I don't think it was meant as a threat. It may have been delivered inartfully and inaccurately. I've met Brad Thor, and I've spoken to him at many a political function. And I don't think that he's the type of person that would make threats like that. Maybe it's the curse of knowledge on my part, but I just don't see it. And I guess I'll have to listen to the whole clip, and maybe I'll come back later and I'll go on record at goonrecord.com and say why it should be a certain way or why it shouldn't be a certain way. But for now, I'm willing to keep an open mind. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here. And that being said, I guess we're going to wrap things up a little bit here, folks. I want to thank everybody for listening to our post-Memorial Day show. I want to thank Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan from Warrior Angels Foundation, Tony Bianco, and the people that made his Just a Common Soldier public service announcement, John Preston and his beautiful music that we played on the show. I want to thank you guys for listening and making us a People's Choice nominee for Best News and Political Podcast for a Podcast Award. I want to thank everybody in the chat room and all of you listening out there wherever you are. It's time to shut this sucker down. So until next week, when hopefully Russell's back and I'm not talking to myself, this is Gene Baradelli behind Enemy Lines saying good night, God bless, and we are out of here. Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A rock radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.